I just put up a video recently that talks about the 5 component parts that are taught about in antiquity. You'd have to just go look and see some stuff. 5 trees in paradise, 5 beams in Marduk's head. There are other relative examples. If we go into the Bible, what we will see is that it's not mentioning those 5 things, but what it's doing is using those 5 things. So I showed in there how I interpret to find what those are. And what it basically is there's a pathway to inner healing based on where we come from, and that is universal. There is a template that is used. It's basically to turn inward and start dealing with your issues, looking at things, but utilizing parts of your mind to do that. And it was the reason I kind of steer away from that. There's a couple of reasons. I'm nervous about teaching it for a couple of reasons. It's when you get done extracting the material from the Bible, this is what there is, and that's kind of not okay for some people. But that's what I find that is there. At the same time, as I'm going through this material and I'm resolving my own issues and looking at my past and going through the things mentally and talking to people and trying to resolve this, at some point I get far enough down the road that I'm like, man, my life is better. Things are good. I got it figured out. And you look at it close enough and what you understand that you've just done is accidentally walked into mental health. That's not my place to teach. I want to teach the material, but what does the material get to? Mental health. But not just that. It not only covers mental health, but that once you have that mental health, that now your life changes as a result of that. Your experiences, what you do and how you feel and who you have life experiences with then change as a result of that as well. So it's not simply about feeling better. It's about feeling better, and as a result, life happens better. So I just want to say that up front, that what I'm doing here is looking at my inner issues personally until I feel okay about all of them. If you went to a psychiatrist and did the same thing, that's the process. You're taking all of the memories that you have that you just don't feel good about and addressing them in some way until you're like, whew, I can let that go, because that is what we're living through right there. This is a mental process. I want to be clear that that's what this is. When we talk about the spiritual realm, the experiences that we have, all the oogity boogity stuff and things like that going on that make you go, there's got to be something out there. I've had those experiences, but I don't believe anything in this universe can exist in violation of the laws of the universe. To claim supernatural agency is to claim something is existing here that you cannot see, touch, smell, interact with, or it's not finding an answer. I see those experiences. I don't believe that they're ghosts, demons, angels, genies, sons of God coming down to go into and impregnate the beautiful daughters of man. All that those are stories holding something different. They're not true. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. Okay. At the same time, people want to know what those 5 things are. Psychiatrist, no, just tell me what to do. This is like, I pretend like I'm some little shepherd boy thousands of years ago. This is what I have access to. And it's my guru material. Okay. And I'm going to treat it that way. I know today there's a lot of really hard issues for people. It may be very difficult to turn inward and look. So, I mean, do this. I'm not recommending this for anybody. It's a personal path. It really is. If you're really hurt over something, anybody watching this, I'm just telling what the material is teaching and what I did. Okay. I'm not making any recommendations or suggestions. Okay. That having been said, someone did respond to that and asked for some more details. And there's 2 parts of their comment that I want to address because I've got a little bit more to say about it. Let me read the comment first of all. Okay, I'm going to have to get around saying that name properly, I'm sure. What is that? Ponchagis Lacunas? I'm not sure. Okay, anyway, here's the comment. Thank you a lot for sharing. What you talk about combines well with other resources I use, NVS, IFS, or NVC, IFS, ACT, and some other. I'm not familiar with those, but that's okay. And really contributes to my healing because in my inner system, the parts prefer to first get some clarity, get a model, and then they feel clear and trusting to try the thing suggested. Try anything really since it's already familiar and therefore safe enough. Okay, I want to stop right there for a minute and talk about that because that is how it's been for me. I go through this, and I have to understand the mechanics of something. I think before I go, this sounds like it's very hard, and it sounds very risky. Why would I share my feelings with somebody that nobody likes sharing? It's very personal. It's very hard. And when you understand reasons why, that helps you go, okay, I see why I need to do this. It's not just some wishy-washy sort of a thing. There's a mechanics to it. There's something happening. There's something going on in the mind. And what I want to talk about here is, I've thought in more recent times, early on, I just knew this was hard, but later I've thought, how come it is so hard when you think about it? You see, a lot of people have done things. Humans are animals. We grow up like bonobos. Everybody plays with everybody, plays house and plays doctor and things like that with all kinds of things. There's probably more than that going on, older brothers and sisters to younger ones, or cousins, or things like that, but all under a certain age. Things that you would look at and go, you know what? If you look far back enough in the evolution of humans, that would be normal behavior. This is just exploring sexually as you're developing and growing. There's nothing wrong with that if it doesn't get over the top. And in a group like that, I'm sure it would be controlled, but also, you see it in the animal world. When it does happen, it's kept in check, but it's not something that is like forbidden, and now you're, outcast and, forever condemned for such activity or something like that. It doesn't work in the animal world, but it does like that in the human world. But I think, how come it is so fearful to open up about that, to talk about that stuff? And I think that there's a point where I realize that humans are operating through mechanisms, fear and things like that, that we evolved with as a part of survival. In the shortest way I can put this, I can see that, millions of years ago, at some point, the hominids, the humans, as we're developing, and we're getting to a point where we're going off and exploring. We're not staying stationary. This is my territory. I stay and guard this. We are becoming like roaming. We're going off into different places. We're now going into other people's territories. We're now going into places that are dangerous. There's things like that are important. We need to know a lot more. And as we're moving and traveling, migrating, whatever it is that we're doing for long periods of time, it would be incredibly important to remember with emotion. This is very joyful over here. This time of year, yes, that's a wonderful place to be. Over there, I'm afraid of that. I remember that. These would be a part of what we survive with. The more you will get eaten over there, remember it and be afraid of it. So we begin to develop this as a part of the way the human works. When you're afraid of something, this is how your body tells you. It activates these glands and makes it feel this way. So that's your mechanism. Later on, when you have those fear feelings, that is what is being engaged, because that is what there is. So we are now holding on to something that is not going to destroy us in any way, shape, or form, but we hold it with the same kind of fear. The fear is over the top. We have to know that the fear we're facing has a different purpose, that now is too strong. We allow it to win. And I'm not talking about the times we have to resolve things. I'm not talking about pain and hurt and things that it's just going to take time. There's nothing to resolve. Significant loss and things like that. You can't just, let me meditate for a few hours and make that all better. It doesn't work like that. We're trying to do inner healing with the things that we are carrying that continue to hurt us. That's this process right here. Think of it this way. It is very natural, and it is important for humans to have a fight or flight response. If something is going to attack you, you're not going to just stand there and let it eat you. You're going to either have to defend yourself or flee, whatever the choice is. That is going to be a built-in mechanism. That is what is being used as a fear. Mentally, we have a different view of what we're looking at, but the emotional mechanism that is the interface that let us know how we feel about it is the same one as the lion that's going to eat us. It's that strong. Jesus has a verse that we know of that's about, walking. If somebody asks you to walk a mile in their shoes, walk a mile and go too, go farther than they ask. And what I'm going to suggest is that at the level of what we're doing and exploring here, that's what we're supposed to be doing. What that is right there is, that's Jesus telling us to use mental experiments, to use our imagination, to go places. Let me describe that like this. Think of what you hide in yourself that you don't want to share with somebody. Think of it. Now think that it isn't you. Think that somebody else has that exact same issue, somebody that you know that is an acquaintance, a friend, or something like that, that if somebody was to approach you and say, look, man, I got really something that bothers me and I have to unload it. I have to talk about it. Would you be kind enough to listen to me just so I can get this off my chest? What I'm going to suggest is that I'm using myself as an example. When I was healing, when I was on the path, that was something that I thought of. I was thinking, God, how can I tell this to somebody? But there's a point where I thought, what if somebody had the same issue and came up to me right at this moment in time? I'd be like, oh man, dude, it's cool. Whatever, it's yeah, we all do that. I would be so compassionate with them that they would be like, oh my God, thank you. It would be the same way as long as you find the right person. And actually, let me clarify something. It doesn't have to be somebody with the same issue. It has to be someone in the same mental space with the same sort of acceptance, the same sort of understanding that what you're doing is just unfettering yourself and that they're serving as a necessary sounding board. Really, they are. And yeah. Now understand this, that if the shoes were reversed and you found the right person, they would be the same way. This is another way to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and go farther, and to understand that what we're doing here, we're so trapped inside of our own heads, we need to imagine what it is outside of our heads to realize, whew, I'm stuck in my head. I need to get out here and see that things are okay. All right. So does that make sense? That's a very important thing to do, to understand that what we have in that. I mean, it could be. It depends what it is. I never had to tell anybody I murdered someone long ago, and I've never been to that extreme. So, the things have been something that are just normal life things. Nothing that you're going to jail for that, buddy. Although there's people probably carrying things like that. So I'm only talking at the level, well, everybody has to do this on their own for their own reasons. That's it, period. Okay, so I wanted to say that about the first part. I think that's not exactly what you were talking about, but I wanted to say, because it sounded like you were talking about understanding a process, and that makes it easier. And I'm like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. We're over the top with our fear. But you can't just tell anybody. You got to find the right person. You got to find the people that are like this. Back then, they would have done it. Secret societies or things like that know this, that's probably what they've got going on in there. I don't know. We're finding it from the outside by interpreting the global material, understanding the way that they read it. Yeah. Fear's too strong. We hide inside of ourselves for some reason and don't admit to things that are truly, probably common and benign. We kill ourselves over things like that. There are other things that we might be holding that are not in that same category. So again, that's what I'm addressing here in the material. And also, though I talk specifically of those, because if those are taken care of, those are really big things. But there are other issues as well that might not even be that. It might just be people that maybe you've never had any experiences like that, but you're lonely, you don't feel good about yourself, you've got desires that are never fulfilled, that there's just some sort of inner turmoil. The measure is, how do you live? Do you live with, life is good, or do you live with an inner turmoil? That's what the difference is right there. So it's not always about memories, although significantly they're teaching that here, about getting triggered, preparing for something returning, cycles of pain happening. That happens because of events, but it actually happens because of how we judge our life experiences and continue to hold it. And then at the end of the day, you're doing things like forgiveness. What's the mechanics of that? I'm supposed to forgive somebody. It'll make me feel better. Okay, well, I'll do it. I forgive them. But then you think, well, I've forgiven them, but I still don't want to talk to them. I don't like them. You think, oh, boy, how come I'm not forgiving them? What is wrong? I'm saying that I'm forgiving them, but Something inside of me doesn't feel like it's forgiven. There's a memory and there's a perception of that memory. Don't forgive the other person. It's the perception that is the issue that you're holding on to. If you change that perception, it will cease to affect you, and you will find out that the other person got forgiven as a residual. So instead of trying to go from the outside in, understand that the problem really isn't about them. It's about the perception that you're holding in the brain. Go there. It's suddenly you go, okay, now I see why I'm supposed to do this. It's not just some willy-nilly try to be good, let somebody else win sort of stuff. That's not what this is about. And then when you rectify this, all of that out there becomes rectified for your experience. It doesn't mean the world fixes. It means your experience fixes. Okay, let's get on to the next part. Okay, and this is pretty straightforward. With that, I have a related question. I'd like to get an even deeper knowing and clarity of the 5 trees of paradise. I think I understand them conceptually, but a part of me wants more reassurance, and for that I'd like to have connection with the concepts so that I can integrate and internalize them even more. Yep, you betcha. See, you're getting it. This is an addressable process. Could I make a video more specifically about each of them? How do you describe them to yourself? That would help me check if it matches my experience. Sure. Maybe I have such a video. I really haven't. I have talked about these before, but I have not done so remotely in the kind of detail that I'm starting to right now. So I really don't get any questions from people, so I don't know where to go sometimes. I'm just throwing out interpretations. They'll be important to someone sometime. Okay, the first thing I want to do is talk about number 5, the field that we exist within, and how does that work, or how could it work? And of course, you can't put this on a scope. You're just looking at life going, how could this possibly be something? And you're begging explanations. Okay, I will talk about an experience I had, and that was when my brother died. He was in the woods. He was by himself. He hung himself. I was in the house. I was detained, having a responsibility to help a younger brother, so I couldn't be with him. But something compelled me to disobey, which was very odd. It would have been severe. But somehow something compelled me to disobey and sneak away. And as I'm going out, I felt it was physiological almost. It felt like there was a palm or something. I was just stopped dead in my tracks. I'm pulling on my jacket, reaching through the sleeve towards the doorknob. It's a loud back door, screen door and things like that. I'm going to have to sneak out very quietly. But as I paused right at that minute, at that second, really matter of fact and viscerally, I had 2 words occur to me that just felt instantly real. Larry's dead. For a half a second there, I was just paused in motion, but I quickly shook it off. I was like, oh, that's crazy. What? But that occurred. And then within just a couple of minutes, I found him, and indeed he was dead, hanging in the tree. What was that? That's supernatural. That's magic, isn't it? I remember a lot of explanations. I was a 9-year-old kid. I begged answers. What was that? Where's Larry? What's going on? People use that to try and reassure me. Oh, that was God talking to you. They didn't know how much Larry and I had been praying to God and Jesus, and how that was not going to be an okay answer for me. Oh, God is being wonderful to you. Really? Just took my brother. Now he's going to tell me, oh yeah, by the way, Larry's dead. No, I don't buy that. It was Larry talking to you. Larry's dead. Why wouldn't he have said, hey, Danny, I left. I'm gone. Why was it third person? So there's some things that didn't make sense, but I'm a little kid. Life goes on. Okay, here's what I think now. Just jump to today. We emerge from an energy cosmos. Everything does. We are energy. While we're matter, while we're alive, whatever mechanisms that got us here, let's not even go there. What we know right now is that we are a product of that energy. and that we exist in that energy, and that our brains are still in that energy. There's a part of, much of our brains that what does it do? Where is it there? It's connecting to glands. It's doing other things. I believe that we evolved with 5 physical senses and one, just a very light 6th sense that we're using almost as an antenna. The same, when our body feels the emotions, we are experiencing that through our body, through our central nervous system, through the endocrine system, through the intestines, through all of our entire body feels that sensation. And we're, very small amounts of emotional energy at that time being radiated. We're flowing into we're in a group. People get together and worship and something happens that's bigger. People get to a group and protest and something happens that's even bigger. We have this nature of when we get together and work towards a common cause that it becomes a stronger, more powerful group, but you can feel it emotionally. I feel those emotions at times, other times as well. When I am having a conversation like this with somebody where there's a real connection happening or something like that, that feeling will happen. There's a lot of love, passion sometimes, things like that. You'll get that feeling. There's those very intense feelings. And it comes from many sources. That's a natural thing. People claim that as a religious experience. And I say, well, I see that experience too. And it's not a religious experience. It's a natural experience. We evolved together and evolved to sense each other. We're different kinds of people with different capacities to do that, different brain types. I know it gets too deep, honestly. The point here is that we have the capacity to sense emotions at times in that field. We see it happen, but we don't see it happen all the time. Sometimes, somebody might have a gut feeling or some sort of instinctual things that happen that make you go, boy. And people will say coincidence, but was it? The person didn't just walk over there accidentally. They're going, man, I got a feeling I don't know why I did that, but I found the kid tied up in the back there. But then there's a lot of times where nobody finds the kid tied up in the back or something like that, or whatever. So you realize that it's not a constant thing. It's not complete. So you just go with your own experiences, and that's what I do. And I realize that I have constant experiences like that. Not to that degree that happened back then, but just accidentally finding something in the garage going, well, why is my wife's, whatever, glasses out here? And I'll come walking in with them. And, a few minutes later, I'll hear her call out, honey, have you seen my glasses? Things like that happen often enough that you go, come on, we have a connection and I see that. It gets to be, we used to joke and laugh about it. Now we just treat it like, yeah, that's normal. We do stuff like that. And that is what I think is happening. But how we flow in that field and how we function with each other is going to be very dependent upon the memories and the energy or the emotional state of the memory that we're holding up here. We're all in a big collective in that way. And I think in proximity, we have to, You ever go camping and you get outside the city and there's a certain point where you go, you just feel like you've gotten out of a field of something. I don't know. I have that happen. And that might just be a psychosomatic thing, but I don't think so. I think when we, if you're prone to get impatient and you're sitting in a traffic jam, you find yourself getting impatient because everybody around you is impatient, when it's like you need to look around and go, you know what? I'm sensing a field here. This is not mine. I'm a part of it. Watch that. Do that. You'll start going, damn it. Why am I impatient in this line? I wasn't impatient until I got here. Yeah, I got to go, but you look around and people are impatient. Start to recognize that we are functioning in a field. That is what number 5 is. When we get all of our thought processes and life experiences judged and stored a certain way, we flow in the field based on a number of things. It also depends on where you come from. We're an egg and a sperm that arrives where? Yeah, why aren't we tribal people in a jungle someplace? Why didn't we live our lives, thousands of years ago as some kind of warriors getting chopped up on a battlefield or something like that? Why not? But we are where we are, and we think that the world revolves around us. We're a product of that. So, and we flow in there. And when you start using the material in this way right here, what happens is that you begin to interact with and change the course of that. You're no longer saying there's something mysterious and magical and supernatural out there. You're now saying, oh, there is something energy based that is completely natural that I flow within, and it's functioning with everybody else based on the manner in which I'm storing, holding, and engaging with my emotions. That is how I flow through life, and my experience is through those. And I have to understand that I am currently a product of those because of the way that I'm holding my judgments of those memories. And that if I want to change my flow in life, I must change the judgment of those memories. Suddenly there's this mechanics that come into play that makes me go, okay, this whole spiritual thing is not some oogity boogity spiritual thing. It's a mental process that changes. Once you get it done, it doesn't necessarily happen instantly. It changes your flow in life. It might change where you are, where you live, where you exist. It depends on how much you change. If you just have like an issue you have to resolve, probably not. If you've got a lot of things and you're going to be changing a lot in life, be prepared to move. The material tells you that. You're not going to keep fitting. Look where you are. Do you like it? If you change, you're not going to be there. We're trying to work our way through something. It won't be quick. It won't be fast. But okay, so that's number 5 right there. That's how I see number 5 working, how the supernatural works. What did I know? What I knew in that field with Larry when I heard Larry's dead. This is how I explain that today. That he was consciously, we have to imagine this. It's a small rope. He stepped off a stump. He's got nothing. There's no branches. There's nothing. He's out floating in a place where even if he had changed his mind, there was nothing he could do. But he would have strangled painfully, and it would have taken, maybe a half a minute to a couple of minutes. And during that time frame, he mentally in anguish may have probably called out. Him and I were close. We were tight. I couldn't get there. But this is in this energy field. It's there. It's already in my mind, probably. It's probably already, the knowledge of that is in my brain somewhere where I'm helping my other brother learn his ABCs. But that it only comes to me at a point in time where my mind is receptive to it, and the idea that Larry is dead came from my own consciousness, not from out in space, but it came from, it seemed like it did because it didn't come through my 5 senses. But I believe that it came in through the same mechanism that we all exist within, that knowledge can be there. All right, think this through for a second. My conscious is hearing. What's appearing in my mind is a thought that Larry's dead, which is a completely out of the ordinary, unusual thought. However, what would the cosmos know? The cosmos would know that there was a death. What am I going to hear? That there's a human dead, that there's something. That's Larry, that's my brother, and he's dead. So those words, Larry's dead, could come from my mind. So the knowledge of what happened was in the cosmos, and the details of it came specifically from my mind. I have another story I tell. I remember from a long time ago reading one on, these were on psychic phenomena. I don't know if this one was true or not. It seemed like a real story. And it had to do with a mother in the Midwest who had a dream one night that her son, who was in combat over in Germany, came and visited her and told her he was okay, he was in a better place. Sometime later, a couple weeks or something, the internet, all that kind of stuff didn't exist back then. A military car pulls up front, a couple people come out carrying paperwork, a flag maybe, something like that. She already knew that they were coming to tell her that her son had died because she had that experience. And I'm thinking the same thing could have happened, that she became aware of that. But all of the other details, she's picturing him, he's in his combat uniform, it's all clean, he's not dirty, he's not shot up or anything like that. So is that what his spirit was doing? Is he going off to someplace now wearing his World War II uniform, or is that what her mind gave her so that she could make that transition from the knowledge to the experience? I now have to have a physical experience. I have to know it physically. And to me, that's how I would explain it. Does it look mysterious? Yeah, it's like it's coming into your conscious through not one of your 5 senses. It's coming through one that is not so obvious. But if you look and you infer, you can begin to see it. And then you can clean out things in the way. You'll actually begin to interact with it or see that it flows better. I would say as a kid, it happened a lot more prevalently. It was a lot more, there's less wiring, something going on up here. I remember deja vu and things like that happening a lot. I remember going, uh-oh, in my bedroom with the door shut. My brothers and I are scrapping and suddenly knowing, so-and-so is coming in with a belt. So maybe I heard something, I don't know. But I remember things like that happening. They were what, when I look back on them, it was like they happened to alert you to danger. That happened. I saw that. Okay, so that's number 5. That should explain the rest of them fairly well. That here's what happens now. Here's how we come about. When you start, you are pretty much you've got the brain. I hate to use the metaphor, but it's a good one. Honestly, the computer idea, except that everybody is born with a basic operating system, but everybody's operating system has some variations to it. We've got genetic differences and propensities and different things like that. There are enough variations in the brain that we're still evolving. There's still modifications being made in everyone. We're not exactly like our parents, and okay, we know that. Okay, so when we're born, we have a certain quality, but imagine taking triplets at birth from Australia and from the outback and raising one of them in Saudi Arabia in a Muslim home, one in Alabama in a Southern Christian home, and one of them in New Delhi in a Hindu home. And they don't know anything except that they were infants, and they grow up with that. And they get together 20, 30, 40 years later. They will absolutely disagree with each other. What happened? They became programmed. We do that. They do that. Guess what? We do that. That's what humans do. We have to know we became what we grew up with, and that could vary. All right. So at some point, what becomes incredibly imperative to understand is this idea just to restructure all the ancient teachings, tearing down the temple and destroying the world and all of that. All of this relates to the network of judged experiences that you live through, the good ones and the bad ones. And that the reason we live through them is because they are judged life experiences, and we continue to maintain them as judged life experiences. Buddha, Dhammapada, first verse. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It's founded on our thoughts. It's based on our thoughts. Look at people from one part of the world who were raised. Here's somebody who was Iraq, who was born in Iraq, who was raised in Europe and went to Oxford and is a scientist. And what does he sound like? Does he sound like an Iraqi? No, he sounds British. This happens because we become products of where we come from. It doesn't matter where we come from. It matters what we become programmed with. That is incredibly important to know if we want to interact with it. You begin to look at it and go, it feels this way. The emotions are what make the mechanics of it hard to see. We don't like to do it because it doesn't feel good. So I don't know. It's like ripping off Band-Aids over and over again. It's not going to feel good. But if you don't do it, it's like healing doesn't take place. So there's a point where a person on the path goes, you know what? The pain of turning inward now seems less to me than the pain of living this damn life. So there's a turning point where they go, I'm going forward anyway. But then knowing these other things, it's not that bad. The mechanism is too intense. The other person's going to be like, dude, it's okay. Yeah, you're all right. We're animals. Get outside of that. Let's emerge beyond that. Okay, so, and as we're doing that, as we're stepping outside and viewing it that way, that's always engaging the higher self. When we can step outside of our life experiences and view our life experiences without the emotional attachment, we are at that moment in having a conscious. We're taking our consciousness and engaging the higher awareness at that time and viewing ourselves from the higher awareness position. Always know that. Anytime you're disconnected from when you can see what's happened and you can look at it from, I don't know, look at it academically or clinically. Think of it this way. It's like we're organic robots with feelings, and we've been programmed, but we're figuring out the key to our programming. Think of it that way, except that even though that's the structure in the background, the interface is life and emotional experience. So yeah, it's a weird blend. Keep looking at it that way. Keep understanding it that way. It'll become more comfortable. It becomes less foreign, and you become more, I guess, for me anyway, once I became more cognizant of the idea that this is a very mechanical process over and over again, I'm addressing a memory to change the way I feel about it, period. Over and over and over and over. What hurts me? What acts out? There, take it. Acts out again. Keep doing it. That's what this is. Okay, so how does it all work? When we were born, we did not have any memories. We did not have experiences. We had nothing to live through. We were alive, we were living, but we have no cognition mentally of that because we did not have the experiences and the network in the brain enough to begin having memories and experiences and making decisions. At some point, we're happy little kids. In the Jewish material, that is day 7 right there. Naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden, 3, 40, 12, all of those. Okay, I'll leave that work alone. At that point, what we have is a consciousness and a subconscious that is not yet developed. The female part of us is not yet there till day 7, right? That's when we are self-aware finally. There's a point where we're self-aware, we're conscious, we're happy. But that's only when we have the memories that we're living through. And those memories then are that's us. However, the question is, do we live through them or not? I'm not going to go find this. There's an Eckhart Tolle one where he talks about, he's despairing. There's a long ago, early in his exploring. He's despairing. He's going through things at night. He was, considering suicide and things, and he's having this discussion back and forth in his mind about things, and that it dawns on him that he's having an internal dialogue, and he wonders who this other person is. And of course, what's he doing? He's hitting on the higher awareness at that point in time. He's doing the same thing. We need to do that same thing. That is the part of us that exists before our memories do. We don't know. Okay, what happens then? We live life and we develop memories and judgments of them. That's natural. It's normal. And we're going to continue to experience life based on the nature of those. I mean, we'll have new experiences along the way, don't get me wrong. But the things that we accumulate and keep bringing with us are going to somehow, wherever we go, they're going to be a component part of our life experiences. I mean, the stuff we want to deal with, they're going to come about when we don't want them to. They're going to affect us. They're going to hurt our happiness. They're going to hurt the happiness and joy of the people around us as well when they get severe enough. So those are the things that we want to interact with. Those are memories that are when our conscious is important. We'll get to that one in a minute. The conscious is in the driver's seat, but the conscious needs the knowledge. So we're actually taking what we're doing right now is we're programming more of the subconscious right now. However, we're programming it with something that is important and that is helpful and not harmful. I think the first line in the Tao Te Ching would be great right now. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. And that's this pathway right here. And what that means when you break it down is that you can talk about it and describe it all day long, learn it, get all the knowledge you need, but it's not the real path. It doesn't do anything. Now, once you're done, you have to actually take the path on your own. So the Tao that can be told is not the true Tao. The Tao that is the true Tao is the Tao that is experienced by the seeker who decides to go on the path. Okay, sorry I wander all over with those. The consciousness is really the big deal. That's what we function with. That is our interface to the world. That is how we make decisions of what to do, how to act, what to say. It is how we decide the quality of something. We're using the consciousness with our senses, our eyes, ears, nose, mouth, touch, all of that. We're We've got this tactile and experiential world that we're growing up in. And what is the nature of that? As we grow up into that world and see things, whatever it is we see and have to react with and react to and experience is what we become. And we begin to hold those memories and the fears with them because that's what we're supposed to do. That's wired in. That's a part of what makes us human. We just don't know we're bringing it to society and not to we left the savannah and we're bringing it to society. Yeah. Okay. So what happens at first that we are unaware? We don't have enough knowledge to realize we're supposed to process and think things through. We just react to life. We don't understand that there is cause and effect and that life is actually the final manifestation of what is going on, the energy that is in action. So we just wire and become parts of that. We become of the physical world. We become products of what we're seeing and experiencing, not understanding that there is something driving it and we need to cease what we're doing and try a different approach. That's normal. We don't know that. So we become those products. Where did you come from? If it was a wonderful home, you probably not even listen to this video. If it's a bad home and you're trying to heal, you're the one that's going, yeah, what do we do here? How do we manage this? Okay, so if that's the case, then that's an important thing to look at. Look at your life and look at the times you can think back on a time where this was not something in your mind. I'm not turning in. I'm not doing all that stuff. That's the first phase of us. Now, if we're at a point where it's like, okay, I see what's going on. I want to turn in. I want to heal. That's another phase. This is the called person that is now beginning the journey that is now turning inward in the material. Ultimately, what that means to us, though, that we need to make this interactive. What that just basically means is that there's going to be some people that do this and you're turning inward and you're starting to make the steps to look at yourself to heal. But the conscious is doing that. Now, what the conscious begins to realize is as you look at things, you can sit there and at times like this and go, I am engaging with this and I am consciously consuming this right here. I'm not fasting. I'm eating this right here, but this is manna. It's good stuff to eat. It's going to help me out. Now, and though that's all metaphor. That's how the Bible works. That's how the Abrahamic stuff works. We need to consume good stuff and not bad stuff. We need to fast. We need to go to the desert and clear things out after crossing the threshold. Okay, all of that. That's exactly what we're doing here. What the conscious has to do everything though. That's where the thought center is. That's where the experience center is. So like I said in the other video, this higher self that exists, that's like the cosmos. This is an awareness that we get to that existed when we were those children that didn't have any memories. This is where we're going to now, to that place. Only this time we have the cognition to get there. We can go and process that and see it. It exists before our memories began to develop. And that is why it exists. That's why it's outside of the emotions. If you truly get there, you've got to the place that is a part of you that is before your life experiences begin to hurt you. That's where you need to engage with, but you only do that by using your consciousness to get there, by seeing it, by recognizing it, and knowing that, okay, instead of kicking this thing out and the memories are trying to take over, the consciousness can be sitting there sometimes where you're just thinking about something. Oh, what about this or that, or this person did this and that, where we're living through those experiences again. We're actually a divided person, and the things that are haunting us are now in charge. So something that we have stored at one point in time, put it away, is now acting out again. It's letting us know that it's there. It's in storage. It's a part of you. And as a part of you, it will continue to create life for you on the very terms that you are holding it as. It has no choice. We made it. It is going to be what we made it. We don't know that. We do that while being unaware. So what we're doing now is developing the awareness of realizing that's what we did. And that even if it was hurtful and shameful and I was abused or whatever the case may be, I still need to find a way to get out of the emotion of that hurt. Because if I don't, it keeps acting out on its terms. Now, some things you can't resolve. Like I said, we're not talking about loss, family loss or things like that. That's, there's other things to do there. I'm just looking at the material here and dealing with the cyclical pain. again. So then what happens is this. You have a shame that you don't want to emerge. You don't even think about it. It's so bad. What you do instead is you go find some quiet place. You go look at it. You experience it. You allow the experience, the memory to emerge. What does Buddha say? Watch it come, watch it go. Watch it come, watch it go. Things cycle. They come and they leave. Know that. So we're going to work through that process. This time, though, we're going to go seek it out specifically. Here is something you know is going to be that triggers you. We're going to go find the strong man before it destroys our house. We're going to go find this issue and say, I'm going to start looking at this issue right here. And instead of looking away from it, what I'm going to have to do is habituate looking at it and get more comfortable with it by viewing it, by easing it, by understanding where I come from, where the person came from. We have to put more into it. We have to start getting into other people's shoes, understanding a bigger chain before we can separate from it. And in the end, let me get that Paul's verse. There we go. James 5:16, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. Yeah, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Righteous, righteous is that pure state. The prayer, looking for that, communicating, talking, getting this out. If you can say, you know what, I've talked this out, instead of hiding it and creating that wall of fear, I've taken down that wall of fear and talked about it until that wall of fear can't even come back. It's now not even a monster anymore. That happens by, where did the shame come from? Were you alone? No, it came with somebody. Somehow this has to unwrap. Or somehow the mental process of just being okay with something means that, that you're okay with it to the point that you can discuss it without the emotional connection with it. Okay, that's all I can think of. The subconscious is something you want. That is the bundle of memories that we live through. That's our inner being. The question is, what is the nature of that? And typically it has a variety of things in it. We have two thresholds to cross. One of them is to turn inward to your memories. We can all do that, but there's another place in there that we hold away that is the bundle that has a different wall. It's a bigger wall, and it's dark. We keep that one hidden away. That right there is the problem. That is the mote that's in the eye. That has to be removed in order for things to be okay, in order for us to see clearly. That's seeing what life is. But what we're doing is we're not just resolving those things. We're also learning and understanding that what we're observing out there is everything functions in cause and effect. And what we see in the end is the effect. It's the final result. And when we judge to that, we're just jumping on board a system that's in place that we don't like. If we don't like it, if we're judging it poorly, it's like, well, why jump on the bandwagon then? We don't know that. We just jump on and do it. When we realize that, we go, oh, that's being driven by something, and I'm just becoming a part of it. And I need to step back because I got more important things to do in life than to be a part of something that I don't, well, what have I done? What have I done in life? How can I let go of that? But again, we're very also habituated. These are grown in. It can take a while to change things. We want to make change, but then, you get all motivated, and then a couple of days later, you're not doing the right things. Do you get back to it or not? When people are ready to go, they kind of really go for it. You might go for it like I did in stages in life, chunks at a time, and then finally in the end, it's like getting it all put together. Okay, does that help? The higher awareness is a place that we can bring to our consciousness and experience. And you're there because you can look at your memories and go, yep, I got to deal with that. Or the things that you have to deal with, the toxic situations or whatever. You can look at them from being outside of them and you know what the right thing is to do. The memories are what we live through. The perceptions of them. No, we don't live through the memories. We live through the perceptions of the memories. Typically, that's going to be the memory itself as well. But what we live through is the emotional quality of who and what we are. If we feel shame all the time, you're going to experience shame all the time. Anger, whatever it is, joy. You might have things happen that are off a little bit, but by and large, the overall quality is going to be that. That is how we measure our mind quality. What is what's the emotional quality of life, the overall quality of one's feel throughout the day? How do you feel about things? Feel good or you feel bad? Or do you feel like I'm hiding stuff all the time? I'll put on a show. I don't know. All that stuff, I've been parts of that in life. Maybe sometimes still do. It's I'm not ready to talk. Everything's okay. We do that. The better thing is to just have things talked out and not have any issues. Oh boy, things are free. There's no fears. Life is that way. We're not grasping. Okay. Did I answer the question? I hope so. Okay, now let's see how many times I can sum up here. Okay. The conscious is in the driver's seat, but the conscious with knowledge knows to engage certain things or that it is being driven to experience a memory. Once we know that that's happening, we start observing and realizing that. This is the self-observation. If I'm happy, though, and everything is okay, don't stop and examine that. We won't anyway. What we need to do is be aware of when we're not happy. We need to start asking ourselves, why? What is emerging? And can I get to my higher self? Right now, I'm living through a memory. Keep doing that. Oh, crap. What am I thinking here? Step to the higher outside self. We're going to keep getting sucked in. How big is it? You have to know that we are habituated and we have to keep working outside of that, but also understanding a bigger picture, which helps. You know, when we very much hold ourselves as an isolated little being, we think everything is happening to us. If we get out in space from our higher awareness and look at Earth and look at humanity and look at just this like mold on an orange growing and growing, it's getting replaced. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger until, there's a limited lifespan of everything down there. And you're watching that happen. And you realize that that's where you're emerging from and that you want to rise above that. And that everybody that did anything to you is in there, that they're stuck in that, and that you holding on to things is keeping you there. Start seeing a bigger picture that helps you get outside of your own personal bundle of experience. You have the capacity to have a bigger experience. And once you start exploring that, that's going to help you start letting go of the beginning where we came from. You have to understand it's natural and normal. You came from where you came from. The experiences were the experiences. And they're all different. What hurts you? So the conscious has to be the one aware of what's going on and paying attention. And realizing when it's off course that it needs to do something and make shifts instead of just sitting there and stewing about it for the next 20 years, whatever. We do that, don't we? Letting things go, though, it's not a matter of it's not as simple as that. The reason things don't go away is because of that emotional perception of the experience and our attachment to it because of the way we feel as a victim or as a perpetrator or something like that. That is the real conflict. That has to be resolved in order for everything else to be fixed. That's the core. That's the root. That's the seed from which all the rest of the emotional experience pertaining to that emerges from. And then it mixes with other things and becomes probably a bad flavor sometimes. Yeah, we don't feel good. Good stuff, bad stuff, all kinds of things. We become this confused blend, not realizing that the reason is because we're holding things that are just hurtful, and we need to work through them until they're not hurtful to us anymore. And we know that by thinking about them and being able to talk about them until, with the right person, until they're no longer of the emotional charge that you don't want to experience. That's the purging right there. Picking that, you don't just chop down the tree, you have to pull out the root. That tree just keeps growing back over and over again. Something is cycling there. But you have to, pull out the root. Okay. We have to go to the core, and you only know that yourself because it continually acts out. Cause and effect. When something is happening that's hurtful, look at where it's coming from inside of you if you want it to stop emerging. From out there, this is part of the trigger mechanism. This is where the real issue is. If this is no longer an issue, that everything can be triggered. Whatever you're holding is going to be triggered. If you don't want to be triggered, you got to stop holding it. All right, and here is something I've not done before. I'm going to plug a channel that Therapy in a Nutshell right here. Emma McAdam. She's a licensed therapist, and you know what? She has short little videos that are incredibly good. If I were to imagine today Buddha taking a teaching, if somebody asked him a question and he said, here it is in modern English and in plain language without having to decrypt, that this is what he would sound like, what she says, that it really is a psychological process. And I think that life unfolds as a result of this, but it literally does because of energy and because of the brain and because of the human physiology and everything. Oh, well, anyway. Okay. All right. That's it for this video. And I hope that explained things better. If you have any more questions or comments, feel free. All right. See you in the next one.